Hi, my friends. This is Liz Speakman, and welcome to the first episode of the Liz Speaks podcast. I'm so excited to be with you all today. So it was September 2018, and I was aggressively scrubbing my kitchen floor listening to the Kavanaugh hearings. And there was a woman who had accused Brett Kavanaugh of sexual assault from decades earlier. And she was testifying, sharing her experience of trauma, and being raked over the coals by our elected officials, saying that she was lying and that what she was saying wasn't true. And I was so frustrated because I spent decades of my life, my career, working with survivors of trauma, and everything she was saying was exactly what we hear. Survivors talk about freezing, not being able to ask for help, and that's what trauma does. And so a friend of mine called me, a colleague, and I said, I'm so frustrated. We've spent decades trying to educate people about trauma, help people understand what happens. And here we have in front of us our elected officials still not believing someone. I said, I either need to just stay home with my new baby, or I need to run for office and somehow change these dynamics. And she said, don't quit on us, run for office. So that was when I decided to join the Emerge program that was run by Nina Liang at the time, and it helps prepare women to run for office. So in 2021, I ran for school committee here in Quincy, and although I didn't win a seat on the school committee, I gained something even more beautiful. That was the start of Quincy Votes. So my campaign generated a lot of energy and enthusiasm and really great momentum in civic engagement. And so I said to my friend Maggie McKee, how do we keep this going? How do we keep this energy going? And so we decided to just have an open meeting at a church on a Saturday morning in December and say, whoever wants to come talk about civic engagement, you're welcome. And we had over 50 people come. And it was still during COVID, we were wearing masks, but that was the birth of Quincy Votes. And it's really been a grassroots effort ever since, with all volunteers jumping in to help out. I'm so proud of the work that Quincy Votes has done, and really sad to be stepping back from my role in the board of Quincy Votes. But really excited to be starting this podcast. The goal of this podcast is to provide some information about the local issues that are going on and to provide opportunities for civic engagement. And so each of the episodes is going to have some kind of opportunity or call to action where you can decide, is this the issue or the candidate that speaks to me that I want to get involved in? And so this will be a chance to learn about what's happening locally and then also have the chance to get involved. So a couple issues to talk about today. One is important to me because of the work that I've done over the course of over 25 years. So one of our city officials was arrested in December 2025 for domestic violence. And the court date for that was in May. And unfortunately, the person that was accusing this official of domestic violence did not show up to the court date. So it was Liz Speakman, who was our former emergency management director, who was accused of domestic violence. And the report from the police says that the victim says Mr. Speakman grabbed the back of her hair and forcibly pushed her face into the steering wheel. When the police showed up, they were still in the car, and Mr. Speakman, according to the victim, said, "Oh, I know who he is. I'm going to be all set." Thankfully, Quincy police took the statement from the victim, made the arrest, and charged him with domestic violence. This is someone, Mr. Speakman was found guilty of assault and battery in 1999 and charged with assault and battery in 2000. So his lawyer said after the court date that he was, quote, vindicated from these false charges, which doesn't really make sense to me. Because the victim didn't show up to the court date does not automatically mean that they were false charges. I think we all know there's a lot of reasons that survivors are not going to show up to the court date, including often fear for their own safety or for retaliation. And I think this really is an opportunity for us as a community to look at how we see domestic violence and to understand that a lot of times the questions we ask are, why does she stay, or what did she do? And I think the question we really want to be asking is, what makes him believe he has the right to put his hands on her? And this quote of, I know who he is, I'm going to be okay, to me really illustrates that point, that I believe I have the right to do this, and in fact, I'm going to get away with it. And so this is just an example of something that happens every day in our community, and I think we have the opportunity to shift that framing. When someone discloses they've been abused to you, then you can say to them, this is not your fault, you're not alone, you didn't do anything to cause this. And in my experience, that can be incredibly healing. On a lighter topic, really excited to share that May 20th, the Quincy School Committee unanimously passed making Lunar New Year a holiday for next year. This is after 5 years of advocacy by many people across our community. In 2021, the citywide parent-teacher organization took up this charge, led by Heather McDuffis, Grace Young-Jay, and Truk Lai. And then in 2022, students got involved. And so there was a North Quincy High School student, Angela Chen, who started a petition and got over 1,200 signatures. And people have been very vocal about supporting Lunar New Year as a holiday, even if they themselves don't celebrate that holiday. And I can tell you, following this and supporting it over these years, take a listen to the testimony of people coming forward, sharing with the school committee their experiences of not having Lunar New Year as a holiday. If you have a chance, listen to the May 20th school committee public comment, and you'll hear from families, from young people, from grandparents, that the importance of having Lunar New Year as a holiday is not just about marking an H on the calendar. It's about this sense of belonging and about feeling like their culture matters in their community and their experience matters. And I think one of the things we know, especially about young people, is that feeling seen and being seen is critical to healthy development. And so when you have 40% of our school population is Asian American, and they don't feel seen, they don't feel valued by their community, by their elected officials, that can have a real impact on our young people's mental health and ability to thrive in our community. And so to some of us, it may be a small thing of saying, yes, of course they should have this holiday. But to a lot of our neighbors, it's really important to their sense of feeling like they belong. And so it's hard for me to understand how some of our elected officials can sit and listen to these families, really heart-wrenching, being vulnerable, sharing their experience and sharing how important it would be to them to have this cultural touchstone acknowledged, and to say no. I don't understand that thinking, and I think it's really unfortunate that it's taken 5 years of persistence to finally acknowledge Lunar New Year as a holiday in Quincy. And I know some people talked a little bit about this slippery slope, like if we acknowledge Lunar New Year, then we're going to have to acknowledge Diwali and other celebrations. And I guess I would say, okay, so we're going to be more inclusive. So we fall down a slippery slope of making more people feel like they belong and more people feel included. I don't understand why that's a bad thing. It seems like actually what we should be striving for. And so I'm thrilled that our school committee came to the place where they decided to make this an official holiday in the Quincy Public Schools calendar. And I hope that it's just the start of more of our leaders listening to our community and taking the lead from them. Because really public service is about serving the public. So thank you so much. We're going to bring our first guest in shortly and appreciate you being here. Hi, Liz Speakman here, and I'm here with my guest, Councilor Maggie McKee. I get so excited every time I hear someone say Councilor McKee, and I'm like, I knew her when she was just Maggie. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. This is exciting. I'm glad to see you have a podcast and see what becomes of it.
Yeah, so you're my first guest. So it's a trial run. We're going to see how it goes. But I wanted to ask you what you've been up to, what's going on in your ward, and kind of like what have you been working on?
Lately, it's all been budget. So on May 4th, the mayor put out his proposed budget for the fiscal year 2027, which starts actually July of this year. And the council has, I believe, 45 days to review it, reject it, pass it, do something with it. Otherwise, it just goes into effect. So we've had 2 budget meetings where we talk about, a large number of departments on each night, and we'll have 2 more. And they've been really long meetings, 6.5 hours the first night, which included some discussion of sort of ENC related discussion before that. And then I think 6 meetings this week.
6 hours.
6 hours.
6 hours.
Sorry,
Yeah.
6 hours. Feels like 6
Oh
meetings.
my gosh, you must be tired.
It is.
I go to bed at like 8. I listen to some of it, and I'm like, I can't. I gotta just listen tomorrow.
I know, me too. I go to bed early and wake up early. So yeah, these kind of 1 a.m. endings are like, oof.
Yeah, I think I was probably 25 the last time I saw 1 a.m. Well, that sounds interesting. I'm sure you're learning a lot about the city through the budget process and what all the departments do and what they need resources for. Has anything kind of stood out to you that maybe you didn't realize the city was doing or kind of impressed by?
Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't realize that we had some departments that we do have, and I'm throughout learning so much about so many things. There's discussion about the debt, and so trying to get my mind around long-term debt and short-term debt, and like the downtown district improvement funding. So it's like
DIF.
the DIF. I was like, what's that F stand for? But so that's been a real learning curve, and the whole thing has been a really big learning curve. But it's interesting. You can ask the city auditor to kind of go back so many years to see, what has been spent in each of the past so many years, to see trends, to see whether that money is really all being spent. So when we've found money that is in the budget at a level that's higher than anything that's been spent in the last 5 years, we're just trying to cut it to a little bit more than what the previous level was, so that we can kind of lower that overall number. And each little bit, I think, helps with a $500 million budget. So
absolutely.
It's a little bit here and there, but I think it will help ease burdens on the taxpayers, and so we're trying to do that.
Wow, that's a lot of work to go back, not only to look at every department budget for this year, but then to go back to previous years and compare line by line what we've spent in the past, and then see where the differences are. That's a lot of work.
And it's not every single line in the budget, but sort of ones that are the big ones.
Wow. So I know another big thing a lot of people are talking about in your ward is the Eastern Nazarene College. So tell me, I know that you're still deliberating and still like kind of collecting information. Kind of what are you thinking about that?
So yes, I think I've started to get there's like an email campaign going, and the other day I started to see signs go up around the neighborhood, save ENC, save our neighborhood.
Is that people who want the city to buy ENC? Got it.
That's right. Yeah. So And I've been trying to write back thank you, and I just want to tell people that, I really am very keeping an open mind about all of this, because there are so many great things that we could do with this property, right? So many people have so many ideas.
Yeah.
And I think it's just a matter of like making sure that we don't add too much to the financial burden of debt, because really, as I've been looking at in the budget, it's the second largest piece of spending that the city does is to just pay down debt.
Oh, paying down debt.
So
what is the debt right now in Quincy?
The debt is $1.8 billion. Billion. And the second largest chunk for this fiscal year, next coming fiscal year, is like, I think, $95 million after education spending and above public safety.
So we're spending next fiscal year $95 million in paying down debt.
Yeah, so it's like a credit card payment, right? So the more debt we have, the less we can spend on other things.
Right.
So if we buy a $22 million campus, how much will that add to the debt?
Right.
And how,
Right, and then it takes away from the other city services, because we only have a certain amount of money we can spend, and if the next year it's $100 million we're spending in our debt, and then
it will keep going like that unless we sort of rein things in. So I'm still getting my mind around all of this, but I think that's really the concern, and I understand if we weren't in so much debt, I think it would be a much easier decision to just be like, but now that we are, I think there are ways to do it, I think, where we could minimize borrowing, long-term borrowing, but we actually have yet to see details.
Yeah, I mean, that was going to be my next question. Like, what, I know there's been a lot of ideas and a lot of suggestions of what the city could do with ENC, but does the city have a plan for what that's going to be and how we're going to recoup those costs?
Not yet. We've heard things sort of verbally, possibly selling off the houses, the single family homes that are around ENC main campus, and that could bring in some amount of money. Then maybe renting out certain parts of the property, or to Quincy College to use for athletics or something. But we don't have any sense of how much money any of that would bring in. I know that the idea of selling them off to first-time home buyers in some kind of a program, which also sounds really good, but may be kind of time-consuming to implement, and also how do you choose who?
14 houses is not a lot for all the home buyers. That would be a process for sure.
I've definitely heard from other people who say just to sell it to the highest bidder. Maybe we just need to make as much money on those houses to minimize the debt. So there's all these trade-offs.
Right.
And honestly, seeing, I had asked for some data on what the city has done with past properties.
Right,
we're still kind of waiting for more of that to come in, but I'm wondering if we need to sell off some of the properties that we've bought.
Yeah, I was on my way here, actually. I was thinking about the building near the courthouse. Do you remember the city bought that a few years ago, and the mayor said it was going to be for AA meetings?
Oh, yeah.
I have not heard anything about that building or what that's being used for.
Yeah,
so.
That was a recent meeting that went through some of the properties the councilors were asking about. And I have to go through that list again and sort of cross-reference what was said at the meeting, where, and maybe make a little map of things. But but anyway.
But it's hard if we have properties that we have purchased that are just kind of sitting there and maybe need more investment in renovations or getting things up to code or whatever. And then we buy something else that's also going to need money. I mean, it's not just going to immediately pay for itself. You're going to have to.
How much work does it need? How many people need to be hired to maintain it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
What are we going to use it for? You know. So I think all of these are questions we hear that the administration is coming up with plans to present, but we haven't seen them yet. So I think it's a tough thing because there's a lot of excitement, but I think we're going to try in this short amount of time to get as many answers as we can to make the best decision and come to the best solution, hopefully collaboratively as possible. But I just want to urge people that we're open-minded, but we do have to ask these questions on behalf of all the residents because we are hearing not only from people who say buy it, but other people say don't you dare buy it. My taxes are going to go up and all this stuff. So we're trying to represent everybody, so it's going to be a
well, I appreciate the council taking the time to consider all the different perspectives and factors. And I always try to make some kind of analogy in my own life, and I think, if we were someplace we loved to vacation and there was a great deal on a property, I would want to know, can we afford it? What is the historical rent that or fee, has that had a history of being able to be rented out and make money? That there would be research I would want to do before making that decision, that I would need to know. Ahead of, and you would need to say to the bank or anybody, this is our plan. This is what we're going to do, and this is how we're going to pay for it. So I try to, in my head, kind of make those analogies, and then if it does make sense, and you can make some good money off of it, and it's something that will be enjoyable for everybody, then do it. But to really go through that process, I think I appreciate that because it is our tax money. So that's what I would do with my money. And so I appreciate that being done on behalf of us. That's what we're really trying to do. That's why the meetings are going 6.5 hours long, because we have a lot of questions and everybody's got them. So and then and it's really it's been interesting because some of our meetings, when you go around and you do the votes, they're all different kind of ratios of votes, and sometimes the things that I propose are voted down, and I'm fine with that. It's just if I've had a chance to make my case, and then other people should just vote their consciences, and if it's not a popular thing, then it's not a popular thing. So, but I feel good about that discussion, and I feel really good about that discussion. That's what I felt was lacking in the council, and so that's what's happening. It takes a long time. It's tiring afterwards. Sometimes it's a bit bruising, and it's messy, but that's democracy. That's right. So we're not coming into it sort of saying this is how everyone's going to do it, and it's pre-decided.
Right.
So. And that's, I think, what a lot of voters wanted to see. So, a fun topic, Wollaston Gardens. I'm excited for that. Can you tell me about that?
So the site of the old Wollaston Theater that I came when it was already closed and they weren't showing movies anymore, but it was still there, and I would look in and see the chandelier and the ticket booth and stuff. That's been gone for years, and it's just been an empty, sad lot, overgrown. And so the plan is to ultimately build something there, but I guess there's still some negotiations that might happen with, what's going to happen there. So in the meantime, a local real estate agent, Austin Partain, I think his name is, and he, I guess, reached out to the property owner and had this idea for a beer garden, and very quickly was able to kind of clean this area up and put in picnic tables and propane, fire pits, and a little stage for music, and so there's two containers, but that have, one of them has beer, and one of them has Mexican food, And then I guess there's going to be like rotating food trucks as well. So it opened the other weekend. I went to the first evening, which was kind of chilly.
Oh, yeah.
But then the clouds cleared, and it was this beautiful sunset, and it was just so nice to just be outside, to have a space to meet, you know, in the neighborhood. It just felt like a really nice kind of neighborhood feel.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
And that makes me think of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater.
Yes.
And that is going to be starting up again soon, too.
Yeah.
Do you want to share a little bit about how that came to be what it is now?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess this, I don't know the early history of it, but I think back when Mayor Laraya was in office, maybe he was the one who either got it started or it opened up when he was there. Ruth Gordon being this iconic actress born in Quincy, and Harold and Maude and other things. So anyway, it had been sort of getting a bit less use over the years, although the Quincy Multicultural Festival had used it, and you know, people often go and sit there.
Oh yeah, it's not far
we all
from
have.
us.
Yeah,
we love it.
But some folks found out that it was that the city had plans to fill it in, and so a few years ago. And I saw she actually ran for city council last time. Kathy Thrun posted on Nextdoor, you know, there's a plan to fill in the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater. And a friend of mine messaged me. I was just about to go into to see the Department of Natural Resources for a meeting about trees, I think, and so they said, maybe you can ask about this. And so I did, and found out, it's not just a rumor. That's the plan. So the idea was to, which did happen, trees along Marymount Parkway were cut down, and that hill was lowered by 6 or 8 feet.
Yep.
And that soil was going to be just brought over and dumped into the amphitheater, and it was going to be covered over. And so people came together, the community came together and fought to keep that, and had rallies and sang songs, and like it was very kumbaya, like let's save this space. And then the daughter of the architect who designed it, Sarah Traynor Callard, she kind of spearheaded this plan to organize shows there so that it would be used again.
Right.
And so the Friends of the Ruth Gordon Amphitheater has been putting on like these Friday evening free shows in the last few years, and that's again just such a lovely feeling. You see so many people are kind of dancing and swaying, and there's food and drink and ice cream, and then I reached out to Ruth Gordon's grandson, who's a physics professor, I believe at Yale, and so he came up with his son to an event a year or two now ago, and that was so special. So it was so magical, like how it all came together, and that was one of the things that like just residents did. So we still have that, which is great.
Excellent. I love that. That's so inspiring to me, that when you get a group of people together to say, let's not only stop this thing, but let's create something new. Yeah. That's possible. Yes. And it takes work, and it takes time, and it takes energy, but it's possible. And now we have this beautiful opportunity on Friday evenings in the summer to just be outside and be with neighbors, whether at Wallaston Garden or Ruth Gordon Amphitheater, and build that community feeling. And I think that's such an inspiration.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good story. Yeah.
So one of the things that I want to be able to highlight through this podcast is different ways people can get involved if they're interested. And so with each episode, I want to have some kind of either an idea or a suggestion or a tip from our guests about what can you do if you're interested in getting involved. And I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are about how people can get involved.
I love this question, and I knew, and I'm glad you're asking it. I'm not surprised. But yes, so there's a few things that I would love to encourage people to do. One of them is I've helped to start something called Resident Council, which is a way for people to get together to work on things that they care about and come up with like solutions, policies that they would like the city to implement. And it could be like specific to their neighborhood, or it could be kind of citywide policies. And so a volunteer is running an online platform called Discord that has all these different channels. I'm not on it, so
that
but
would
I'm
stress me out. Slack, Discord, it stresses me out.
Yeah, I'm not on it because I just figured they can come to the council but it's a space for people to work, and apparently it's like very active and very respectful and very productive. So things like mobility issues, or I think housing, environment. So I don't know what else, but people are working on things, and then the idea is that then they will present them to the city council, and then we can take advantage of the research that they've been doing and think about it and see whether it's something that we could get in place in the city. So that's something. So the online Discord is happening all the time, and then we've been having once a month in-person meetings that I'll rent a space or reserve a space, and then we can all meet. Whoever can make it can meet, and we've had such good discussions. And it's people that I know people from my tree interests, and I know people from my voting interests and my climate interests, and people from your education groups and stuff. So it's like there's crossover, but now there's new people that I don't know from any groups, and who are just because they are like, oh, I want to talk about blah, blah, blah. So it's so exciting, and it always leaves me feeling really inspired and energized. And then the other thing is just to show up to the full city council meetings. At the beginning of every city council meeting, we now have implemented open forums, so there's a chance for people to speak on any topic that would be under the council's purview, which is pretty much anything in the city. And you can have up to 3 minutes to speak, and it's a great way to share what's on your mind, and so I would love to see, it makes me happy again to see people showing up to that, and I would love to see more and new people doing it, because we're listening. We can't say anything back, but we're all listening, and it really makes a difference. So
that's great. Well, I know one of the things a lot of voters had asked for a while was opportunity for public comment, and so it seems like it was a quick ability to create a solution to something people have been wanting. And there's so many other things that are complicated, that are nuanced, that you're going to have to sort through and do research. But this was one that was like, let's do public comment. Let's make that happen. So it's a tangible result of our recent election. And so appreciate you all keeping that promise, making it happen, and listening. Well, thank you so much, Maggie, for being here, and thanks to our audience for listening in to Liz Speaks. We hope you join us next time.